This was commented on the video where I talked about how a woman intervening as my mom was abusing my sibling in front of me in public was like the seed that, when watered in therapy, allowed me to accept that I had been abused and finally like start exploring the options of going no contact and like realizing I deserved better, laying the foundation for me to have the life that I have now with the people that I've chosen to be in it, where I'm much happier and living at peace. The answer is intervening is the way to do it safely. Literally, that's the safety. I understand that some people like are afraid that if they intervene that adult's going to take it out on the kids and abuse them more, but that is like kind of ignoring the fact that like if a parent's abusing their kids, they're going to find a reason to abuse them regardless of what you do, and intervening will be a net positive regardless of if the outcome is that parent laying into that kid more, harder, whatever. It still is going to disrupt and plant that seed in that kid's brain that like this isn't normal, this isn't behavior that I deserve, and that's really what matters here. And like when someone has grown up in that literally indoctrination of believing that what they deserve is abuse, what they deserve are these tumultuous relationships without any reciprocity or like only conditional love, they need that disruption. And even though like I kind of buried the memory to an extent, there were times in my teenage years where it kept trying to resurface, okay? Like when things would happen and as my prefrontal cortex started to develop more and I'd start to question things that my parents were doing more as a teenager, it would always resurface as like, but that lady knew that this was wrong. Maybe it was. Maybe she was right. Maybe the gut feeling I'm having is right. Even though my parents, would gaslight me and do everything that they could to make me second guess myself. It was so important for me. So I guess a way to do it safely would to make your message as clear as possible, and to focus on the behavior of the adult. So less about like what the child was doing. Don't get wrapped up in an argument with that parent about like what that kid was doing, or you'll even have parents like my mom did say mind your business. It is your business if a child is being abused, and that's what I would say. I have intervened in situations like this that I've seen in public before, and it's usually, excuse me, you need to stop getting physical with your child or I will call the police. This is not okay. No child, regardless of what they're ever doing, deserves to be hit, slapped, any sort of violent response. We can use our words. We're adults. Like you're an adult, the parent. We're human beings. We use our words. We don't use violence. And when they say mind your business, I say this is my business. Child abuse is my business. It's everybody's business. Do you want to get the police involved? I'll call them happily. Right now. And in the past, I've also looked directly at the kid and said, you did not do anything wrong. None of this is your fault. No person should ever hit or touch you. That's not okay. That's not normal. We ask people before we touch them if it's okay for us to touch them. And we definitely don't do it when we're angry because we don't know how to cope with our anger. I guess just try to remember like the parents are the problem. We can only control what we can, our own behavior in that moment. And the goal is not at that time to save that child out of that circumstance, because oftentimes that's not going to happen. Like, it's not like you can just take that kid out of that circumstance. Especially as a teacher, I learned this. That was the hardest part about being a teacher, is seeing this happening and being a mandated reporter, reporting it, and nothing changing in that kid's life, or things changing and them going to a different relative and that relative being worse. What matters is the mindset that you teach and display those kids, because that's the part that keeps them from internalizing it and being in these relationships for the rest of their life and being constantly re-traumatized. So that's what I would focus on. Your message. That behavior is not okay. That kid has done nothing wrong. Nothing that they could do would mean that it would warrant that. And that we talk to people kindly. We treat them with respect. We ask them before we touch them. We respect the autonomy of everyone, even children. And thank you for asking this question, and I hope that this motivates you to speak up in the future. All that to say, I'm not a mental health professional. I'm a former teacher, a child who was abused, who's done a lot of therapy, working on healing that now. And so if there is a professional who would love to stitch this and like give a better explanation or suggestion, please do that. Because again, I don't want to give any advice that's actually going to cause more harm. It's just, this is what I've done, and that's what was done for me and what like made a difference. So yeah, if you're a professional, a mental health professional, and you want to stitch this and provide your 2 cents, please do. I would love that.